Welcome to episode 9 of the Real Future podcast. My name is John Nyboer. I'm a Los Angeles-based photographer of street dance culture, and I started this podcast to share the personal stories and perspectives behind the world's largest arts movement. My guest today is Jaylin Sanders. Jaylin moved to LA from Nashville in 2021 to both attend college and pursue his dance career. He had been working as a professional dancer since the age of 15 and has a level-headed approach to the entertainment industry that belies his years. He's worked with Dolly Parton, Wayne Brady, and got a lot of exposure in the 18th season of So You Think You Can Dance when he made it to the top 6. Jaylin is a self-described extrovert, and I really enjoyed getting to know the real person behind the exuberant personality. I think you will too. So let's get into the real future with Jaylin Sanders.
And honestly, the thing for me that I like the most is that it helps me understand, what I'm watching as a photographer better.
Right.
Right.
And
So
how to
like,
shoot it. Yeah.
I see a little more of that kind of thing. So yeah. But anyway, Jaylin Sanders, welcome to the Real Future. I really appreciate you being here and doing this and taking the time. I actually, so everybody gets flowers, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
as you
word.
saw, I'm above a flower shop.
Right, yeah.
And this is a nice way to support my neighbors
Thank
and
you,
to just
yeah.
like add a little flair to the table, right?
Right.
And
These
kind of
are fire
welcome
too,
my
yeah.
guests. I honestly don't know what this is.
It's cool. I've never seen it before.
It looks like a bush, right?
I like
But
them,
I asked him,
yeah.
I was like, "Is it a flower?" He's like,
Right.
"Yeah, it's a flower."
It's cool. It's very
But,
unique. I'd never seen anything like it before too. So I'm like,
It kind of goes with your outfit,
right. I'm like the green vibe. I think we were locked in before. Yeah.
But this is perfect because you're always you're like one of those people in the dance community that I think is exemplary of like the welcoming aspect.
Oh, appreciate
And so
it,
you've
yeah.
always been like super welcoming and friendly, and it'd be nice to like. So, when did you move to LA and from where?
Oh yeah. So I'm originally from North Carolina.
Okay.
Right. Moved to LA. Well, I moved to Tennessee in 2016. Right.
Nashville or where?
Yeah, so a suburb of Nashville called Franklin.
All right.
And so yeah, I moved there 8th grade year, and I actually had to pick between dance and basketball because for like when I was 6, when I was 6, my
This was
dad.
the Hans story.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I'm starting to hear that's like a reoccurring theme. Like,
Do you know
look,
Slim also?
Yeah, that was also something for him too.
Yes, way back in high school, apparently
Yeah.
he was a basketball player.
Like I'm hearing that too because apparently I think Rob Short Circuit as well. He used to play basketball and he picked dance. CJ Ray, like a few other people. Xavier Misbehavior. Like I think that happened like with a few different people. But like for me growing up, I had always danced at a young age because my dad turned on the movie Breaking. Right, and I was seeing like Ozone and Turbo dance on the walls when I was 6, and I was like, oh, like I want to learn how to do that. And my dad actually taught himself how to pop when he was younger off of watching Soul Train. So every week he would just teach himself how to pop. So he's like, I actually know how to do some of that. So he taught me how to pop when I was like 6. And so I would do like talent shows here and there, and I would freestyle and I would dance all the time. Yeah,
In North Carolina?
Yeah, in North Carolina.
Okay.
And then, but I also was more focused on like sports. Like basketball was like my main thing. And then I moved to Tennessee, joined a dance company while I was also playing basketball in middle school on the middle school team. And I was like missing a whole bunch of dance practices because of basketball. But then I also like sometimes was missing basketball practices because of dance.
How did you join a dance? Like you must have had training. You can't just up and join a dance company.
Right. Oh, so like, okay, I started actually with the recital classes. So I did the recital classes at
For a studio? Or
Yeah, for a studio.
okay.
Yep, I did the recital dances for the studio, and then from there, the owner was like, "Hey, I think you should audition for the competition team, like the company." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I auditioned, and then I saw the schedule because this was now I was going into my 9th grade year, and I saw the schedule, and I was like, "Okay, dang, this schedule is like so many more days out the week.
Mm-hmm.
If I try to do basketball." And it's not gonna work. So I was like, okay, I need to pick which one I would rather do to the fullest extent because I'm like, if I was to pick basketball, my goal would be trying to go to NBA. Like, it would try to be like the biggest, like how far I could get. I was like, if I pick dance, I want to do that to the highest level, try to become a professional dancer. I was like, let me weigh the options. The doctor's saying I'm gonna be 5'9".
Were they right?
Yeah, I'm 5'9" and a half. And a half. Can't forget the half. But yeah, the shoes add a little. But I'm 5'9" and a half, and I was like, okay. Realistically, basketball is fun, but it's more stressful than it is fun.
Okay.
And dance, I'm like, at that place I was at with dance, I was like, yo, this is like super fun. You know, the more I've dived deeper into dance, it can definitely also be stressful, but there's more depth, I feel like, to dance than basketball, in the sense of like, you know, it can lead you to so many other outlets also, like music, acting, you know what I mean? It opens a lot of doors, as to where basketball is like one thing. Like,
So how old were you when you decided to go the one way?
I would have been 12 turning 13.
13. And when your dad was teaching you, like, was your dad teaching you the popping? Was that your first exposure to any kind of?
Yeah. So like I used to like always just like move whenever I was younger. But like my dad, when he taught me that, I was like, that was like the first real dance thing I actually learned. And I did, you know, some classes when I was younger coming up. But for the most part, again, I was more focused on like sports.
And then when you got with that company, was it all like hip hop based kind of choreography? Or?
Yeah, so it was like a lot of the choreography was actually tough. That was a really tough aspect for me because, well, one, they threw me into like ballet, jazz, like all that stuff, which I never really wanted to do, but I understood the like benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also felt like, because I just got kind of thrown into the fire, like a lot of these kids, I was like far behind. I was actually really far behind when I joined, because a lot of those kids have been doing choreography and like all those other styles since they was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then so coming into it, I was just used to like turning on music and dancing. But like, you know, choreography in general has a lot of nuance to it with the counts and, you know, different dynamics and textures and all that stuff. So when I jumped into it, I was very behind. Like, it was really hard for me to pick up choreography at first. Like, because the teacher that I first had when I joined the company, he taught at like an industry speed. So it was like really quick. Like, he would be teaching like, you know, 3/8 at a time maybe. And like, I wasn't even used to like picking up in general. I was just used to turning on the music and da-da-da. So that first year was actually super tough for me. And then I ended up going to a different company and working with this other director who, he was more, I feel like at the first company, it was very like, they teach you how to be like really like they teach you to be like militant in a way. Like, they're gonna get you to be able to pick it up, and you're gonna be able to like, you know, be clean and a clean dancer. But I feel like at that time they didn't as much hone in on like who you were as a dancer. It was more so just like, this is how you become clean and a good dancer, which is important. Like, I think that's good what they got going on.
Yeah.
But I think for me it was better to move on to a different place to. It honed in.
So then
on
the second
me.
one, are you still in North Carolina at this point?
No, now I joined a dance company when I moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
So Tennessee is when I made the decision.
And so the second one.
Yes, I joined a different company, and then that director, he more so focused on, it's a guy named Kimmy Beard. He's still one of my like main like mentors. A great guy.
What was the company, if you don't
It was
know?
called The Artist Project.
The Artist Project.
Well, I started at Millennium Dance Complex. Okay, well, so the second company was Millennium Dance Complex Nashville, but then he ended up opening his own company called The Artist Project.
Okay.
And I followed him to The Artist Project because I really liked his teaching. He was really good at like honing in, still making sure you were able to pick up the stuff, right?
Right.
But he was good at honing in on like what you can do as a dancer. It's like, okay, you really like using isolations. How can we like refine that and make it even sharper? And how can you apply that to the dance?
So is this like how demanding is this company? Are you going like every day?
Oh yeah,
What's the kind of schedule is it?
Yeah, even like as soon as I joined the first dance company, it was like I was starting to see there was like a shift. Like, okay, this is like a commitment. Like, it was at least like 4 days out the week.
Were you traveling?
Yeah, it was like competitions. We would travel to different states and do competitions. So not only are you just like training, but you're also learning pieces that you're gonna compete and stuff like that.
And did your parents were they like worried about you keeping up in school and doing this?
Yeah, so I think they actually liked it because honestly, for me, after I moved, I had a hard time like making friends and stuff in school because I moved in 8th grade. So like that's when like in middle schoolers are like the worst people on the planet.
Yeah.
They're the worst people.
That's a challenging time.
Yeah, so I moved in 8th grade. So like everybody already kind of had their friend groups, you know, and friends that they had since elementary school. So I was having a tough time making friends at school, but having the extracurricular, it was like a good balance because I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go to school, do my work, whatever.
Right.
And then all my friends are like outside and they enjoy what I do too. And so it was good because my parents always wanted me to do, they always put me in stuff when I was younger, like gymnastics, whatever, maybe sports, like, you know, they had us in STEM camps, like coding camps, stuff like that, to make sure that I was always doing something extracurricular and not just school. So I think that they liked that I had like picked an outlet like that was the one I really wanted to do, like hone in on was dance. And so it was a good balance because like I was also always like a pretty good student. Like I, do my work, go to dance, and have a good balance. And it was a good schedule. So that also helped me grow. Like I noticed when I have like a good schedule along with dance, it's easier for me to grow. Like I like to have a sort of a lane to follow. But so I went with the Kimian guy, and then he really honed in on like me, and that helped me grow just as a dancer and a freestyle because the other studio, they again were like really choreo based, so there wasn't like too much emphasis on freestyle. Where were some days at the other studio I went to with Kimian, like we would really focus on like freestyle and like exploration within that.
And then did you start? So you had performances, competitions, but were you also getting into the street dance scene at this time?
Okay,
in Nashville?
Great question. Actually, I was like super ignorant to my level of dance, right? Because some of my favorite dancers were like, like Fiction, Key to the Great, right? Who I feel like they are amazing at like isolations and like, performing and like those things that they do. But in their dance, especially when they perform, not in general, but just like I was only really watching their performances. I wasn't seeing them at sessions or anything like that. In their dance, they don't use like a lot of foundation of like say hip hop or like, things like that. Obviously, they have like popping foundation and things that they utilize in their performances, but I wasn't seeing too much of like, I wasn't exposed to actual like foundational hip hop and stuff like that and what that actually was till about like 2019, because I thought before I had met these guys named Malik Leonard and Weezy the Phoenix, before I even met them and started going to sessions, I thought like animation, popping, like all that, like waving, I thought all that was like hip hop. I didn't know that was like, I didn't know hip hop freestyle dance was like its own thing. Like I didn't know like a bounce, a rock, or a groove or anything. Was I naturally doing some of those things in my dance? Yeah, but I wasn't aware.
Wow. In 2019, by 2019, were you out here?
No, I didn't move till 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah, so 2019. So I had.
So you started going to sessions in Nashville when you met these. Who were the two guys?
Yeah, so I had met these guys. Well, I actually first heard about the session from this videographer, this dude named Marco or Sale Productions. And I had heard about the sessions through him. He was like, yeah, there's these sessions that happen. You should pull up. Mind you, I thought I was like, I was only in like the competition dance scene, right? So in that scene, there wasn't that many people that freestyle.
Right.
So I thought I was like one of the like best freestylers like in Nashville. Like I had no clue. Like
interesting.
Yeah, I had no clue because I was like, oh, there's nobody really doing this out here. Like I thought I was one of the only people doing it. So then he told me about the session and I went and I was just thinking it was gonna be like, okay, some people that like can like do some stuff. The most like humbling moment ever. Like I went, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about dance, like at all. Because,
okay, let's get into this for a minute. So this is in Nashville, right?
Yes, this is in Nashville.
And what were the dominant styles at this session?
So there was three main people that were kind of running the session. So Malik Leonard, or he also goes by Roshi. He was the main teacher that taught me hip hop. Weezy the Phoenix, who's also one of my main teachers, he does the styles of whacking, house, and Vogue. And he can do a lot of other styles, but those are his main styles, are like whacking, house, and Vogue. And then my other, like my brother, my homie, T. Custon, he was also one of the people that was like hosting the session. That's where I met him. And so I was seeing like hip hop mixed with like animation and stuff, because there was also like animators and poppers there. And I was like, dang, like, okay, I'm seeing them do stuff I'd never seen before. Like I thought like, I was just watching the main people you see on like World of Dance and stuff. And I was like, oh, these are the best dancers on the planet. And then it like, oh, mind you, those dancers are still amazing. But I was like, it opened my mind to like, whoa, there's like levels to this. And then so I started training there, and like my mind got opened so much because I remember I was seeing people grow because they were training dancers that had been in the scene for a minute. And I said to one of them, I was like, oh, like, it was Weezy. I was like, hey, I want you to like train me. Like, I want to like get better, And he was like, yeah, the first thing I got to like, you need to do is like, you need to dance. Like, you need to learn how to dance. And I was like, so confused because I was like, aren't I dancing? Like, I was so confused, but I didn't recognize that I didn't have a dance aspect in my dance, like a groove or any sort of bounce.
So could you, like, how would you illustrate that? Because I'm not sure I entirely understand that. Like, is there a simple way you could illustrate that?
In dance styles in general, there's always or in foundational styles in general, there's always a dance aspect, right? In popping, there's still like a groove. There's still like a bounce, right?
Yes.
In hip hop, you have the bounce. In house, you have the jack.
Right.
You know, those are all the aspects of the foundation that make it dance, right? So like, there's some dancers, especially you see this a lot overseas, they kind of are starting to lose the dance aspect and they're more so accenting the music, right? So accenting the music would be like highlighting certain beats, but you don't have like a groove or any sort of aspect that's keeping the dance. You know what I mean?
Okay, so when you say when you were told that you
Right.
didn't have that you had to learn how to dance, it's not that you're literally not dancing,
Right.
but it's that it's basically a foundation.
Yeah, there was no foundation.
So your foundation was like maybe ballet or like what how would you describe your foundation? Like when you went out there, what were you actually doing?
Right,
There we
so-
go. That's what I need to ask.
My dad taught me popping, so I knew the mechanics of popping, right? Like I knew how to physically pop. I didn't know like, you know, because he was self-taught himself.
Right.
So I didn't know like any of like the like frames
Like the Fresno
or anything like that. I just knew how to do it. I didn't know the like frames or any of the sort of like techniques of it.
Yeah.
I just knew how to physically pop. So a lot of my dance, like again, was inspired by like Key to the Great and Fiction and them. So I would like do ISOs and stuff, and I would be like just doing ISOs and like trying to attack the beat, but I never really had like a groove or anything like that.
So in that case then, like you get into the circle and
Right.
you'd be on time.
Right. And
And-
sometimes
but-
I was off beat though, because I was just trying to like attack like a bass. So I would be like, I would have resets. Like I would like be waving or something and then I'd like reset and try to like do it like a tut or something. It didn't connect.
And there was no groove
No
underneath
groove,
that. So,
nothing. Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah. So,
oh wow.
And they explained it to me and I was like so confused because I was like, exactly like, what do you mean I'm not dancing? Like I'm literally dancing. Like, so then they broke it down to me.
I never
about-
imagined that you would get so in the choreography you were getting trained just to
Right.
like follow this song and do this
Exactly.
move.
You're getting trained to be a robot in a sense, and like being able to copy somebody.
This is interesting.
at
So
a high level.
I grew up playing piano.
Nice, yeah.
Right, and I had classical lessons, and it's
Right.
kind of a similar thing where like I never really learned how to like I could play Bach, right, and I had good time,
Right.
But yeah, it was just I was reading this thing,
Right.
not interpreting it that much, and then I couldn't just sit down and play the piano,
Right, like an improvise. Yeah.
Like so that's why I picked up drums because then
Nice,
I could like, oh wow, okay,
And
so
yeah.
wow, you've grown really fast.
Yeah, so I cause around me, like I was like, I've always had like a competitive spirit around me. Like I think that's why like I enjoyed basketball. I think that's why I enjoy battles now, because it's still like a competitive aspect I can have within dance. You know what I mean? Where it's like basketball, it's always competitive. But even growing up, I played clarinet and then alto sax. So I think that also was one of the things that translated to my dance in the sense of my musicality is
Right.
like I always like went for the back end of the beat, like what's in the background. And so yeah, I would try to attack that then first rather than just first having like a bounce or anything. But then once I started training with them, I was still in the dance company with the guy Kimmy and Beard. So I was getting better in the freestyle, and then that was translating also to my ability to do choreography, because it was helping me understand like when you train in freestyle and you have a foundation, it helps your choreography immensely because you understand like, oh, this is just a bounce into this groove, right?
You're not reinventing the wheel every time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
like everything has a base. So then I started using the things I was learning at the freestyle sessions. They were called Super Session Sundays. They would happen every Sunday from 12 to 4. I was using those things that I learned in the competition, like solos and stuff. So I was making solos and competing where like I would choreograph like 30 seconds of it and then the rest of it would just be freestyle. And that's what the year I started really growing, and I started like actually getting first place at like these big dance competitions, which are rare for hip hop dances to get first
Yes.
place because everything's very like cookie cutter.
Well, that's interesting. It's kind of worked to your advantage, right? Because a lot of hip hop
Right.
dancers, they don't get all the other training you had.
Right.
And so they're missing that, whereas you're
Right.
like, well, okay, I just got to put some stuff under it, right?
Right,
And then
exactly.
boom,
Right.
that's a trip. And then, do you remember your first battle?
Oh my gosh.
And where was it?
I remember the first battle I went to try to get okay, yeah. So it was a battle in Nashville, right?
Yeah.
that some of the guys in the scene had put on. It was called the Syndicate, and the Wheezy the Phoenix, one of my teachers, he was one of the he was one of the judges, right? And essentially, he it was more pressure almost because he was one of my teachers. So the fact that he was a judge, I was like, okay, he knows exactly like what I don't do. So I remember like my first prelim was cooked. Like, it was so bad. Like, I have a video too. Like, I was just like, I went out and I just didn't even like, I just kind of blanked. Like, I just started reverting to like all my go-tos, which were like, you know, the things you're just like, I just gonna spit this out. And I didn't get through prelim. Actually, I didn't get through prelim for like probably 6 months. Like, cause then not too long after my first prelim, I moved out to LA. And then that's when I started doing prelims out here, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I got still like a lot to work on.
How was that, like the transition? I mean, did you feel like, like did you feel like the talent was like there was more competition here?
I felt more pressure because it's like everybody from a dance space comes to LA to like make it.
Right. Well, including you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was just now like in this pool of people. And when I moved out here, I was 17, because I've started school like a year early, so I was always like one of the younger people in my grade.
And did you, before you go on with it, did you come out here to go to school, or did you come out here to get into dance?
Both. So I knew I wanted to. So actually, good question, because I was talking to my choreographer and my director, Kimian, right? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to school in Nashville for 4 years.
Okay.
And then I'm going to move out to LA. And he was like, you need to move out to LA like right after you graduate. Like, you would be wasting time if you stayed out here and then moved out to LA, which now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually so crazy, because if I didn't do that, I would just now be graduating in Nashville this year.
No, that is good advice. How did your parents feel about that?
My dad was more so like, yeah, like, you know, go do what you want to do. My mom, I think it was like a little harder for her. Like, she wanted me to stay closer to home. But like, I think for them, it was just more so as long as I was in school, it was fine. So I was like, okay.
And where did you go?
I went to Loyola Marymount University.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Was it a dance major or?
No, I actually majored in, I started with as a business major, and then I transitioned to film. So then I'm film major, yes. And then but I was still very involved in the dance scene at LMU.
Did you know Madeline?
Were you guys? I talked to her actually after, like, I saw her at an event, and she was like, yeah, you know what's crazy? I went to LMU.
You guys were at the same time at some way.
I think she graduated like maybe a year or two like before I got there. Like, it was like before. Yeah. Okay. But I didn't know she went to LMU. But like when I found out, I was like, oh, that's super lit. But yeah, so I was like, okay, my parents really want me to go to school. I also still want to go to college. Like, I understand the importance of it and what I wanted to do. So I was like, cool. So I decided, I was like, okay, let me look for schools in LA, because then I can still go to college, but I could be in LA at the same time. Yeah. So then I was like, okay. And I was looking at schools, but it was just so expensive. And then I was like, okay, I had to apply, find schools that were giving out scholarships, you know, that also, you know, had not too crazy of a tuition. And so I found LMU, and I was like, okay.
What did you get a scholarship for?
I just ended up getting academic scholarships.
Just general?
Yeah, general, cool. Just for my grades and stuff, which was good. Great. But yeah, so I did that, and then I moved out here. So it was kind of like, I would feel like that first year, like 2021 to 2022, I was kind of everywhere. Like, I was so focused on like school and like being in college and like making friends and like and, you know, college being college. But then I was like, dang, at some point I had to come to a realization. I was like, I haven't really been dancing as much as I want to. I need to like lock in, because the whole reason I wanted to go to school out here was for dance. Yes. So if I was just gonna go to school to just be in school and be cool with people and I could have done that anywhere. So I was like, okay, let me lock in, and I also was like losing friends for like taking time away and doing dance, like and auditioning and going to more classes and stuff. I lost like a whole group of friends because I was like, it was crazy. I didn't talk to them, or not talk to them. I didn't hang out with them as much for like 2 weeks, because I was like doing auditions and dance stuff, and they like cut me off because I was.
Okay, I don't know what to say about that. Well, you probably made twice as many friends in the dance community anyway.
I was like, I wouldn't even really want friends like that anyway. But it was just kind of crazy to like see like, dang, like, yeah, I was focused on the wrong stuff for a long time. Like, I was hanging out with my friends and stuff, and then I was like, okay, yeah, I need to focus on this dance thing. So then I started really focusing on dance, and then the first prelim I got through, it was at this battle called Battle for the Belt. It was hosted by the people that run Carnival, and this was a big one because I think they were filming some sort of documentary or something.
Okay.
And I had got through, and I was at this point where like I wasn't even thinking I was gonna get through. I was just doing prelims for reps to try to be like get more comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. And then I got through, and the first person I got was Robozilla, and I was like, bruh, I was like, bro, come on, like I was like, yeah. At that time when I first like now I feel like I'm very like confident in myself, and like now I'm like I'm in the mind place of like I'll battle whoever and like let's run it. Sure. Like, you know, because you can't already go into a battle thinking you lost or you're worse than the person you're gonna lose. But like he was one of those people, you know, with me and my homies like T and all that, when we were back home in Tennessee, like we would watch all the battles in LA and be like, what would you do against this person? Like how would you approach this person? So then it actually happening.
So what was your strategy against Robozilla?
I was like, oh gosh. So for me,
that's, you know, he was just in here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Robo. Yeah. So that's the homie now. But like, even then he was cool. Like we were cool. But like, I remember because he was a battle guest, they said I had to go first. The song we got was King's Dead, and I was like, okay. I remember like everything my teachers was telling me was just in my head, and I was like, okay, let me just like be calm. So I remember I started like really calm, and I tried to like really attack all the instruments because I knew Robozilla was a very musicality, like his musicality is really good. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, since I know this song, I'm gonna try to hit all the beats before he can hit them. Since I'm going first anyway, let me try to like just hit everything before he can. So like if he hits it, it's like, okay, well he already did that. So I tried to approach it that way, and I remember I still like went to attack him. Like I remember I tried to like have a moment, so I like grabbed his like hair and like sniffed her or some shit, and it was just like it was like extra. Like it was just like I did the most for it to like I definitely kind of panicked, but I stayed calm too in the beginning. But I still think I was still proud of myself for what my first time getting through, like getting somebody like him that was already very established. I was like, I'll take it. But then he went and like off rip at the like beginning of his round. There's like this, it was King's Dead by Kendrick Lamar and J-Rock. There's this part in the song where it's like room, room in the background. And mind you, I just said I was trying to hit every beat. He literally starts his round and then hits that beat that like was at the beginning of the song, and I was like, dang, like, how did he already hit something I didn't like? I was just like,
so you lost.
Yeah, I 1,000% lost.
Well, what's the first one you, and all this time, so you're going to school, you're getting in the LA battle scene. Are you going to auditions?
Yeah, so at this point, I was still signed with an agency in Tennessee.
Oh.
Which was tough because it was a Tennessee-based agency, so there wasn't that many like jobs she was getting me out here, which understandably, because she's based in the South, right?
Were you getting jobs in Nashville?
Yeah, I was. I was getting quite a few. Like I started actually doing professional jobs when I was 15. So like one of the first ones I did was a Dolly Parton music video. And then I also did a couple Chevrolet commercials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I had done, I had done some more like different jobs. Like I actually got to do a Space Jam commercial with my dad before I moved out, which was cool because it was like a full circle because he was the first person to teach me how to dance, and then we got to do a Space Jam commercial together.
But are there a lot of? Well, I guess Nashville does have a big music industry,
it's a big country scene.
Right.
So I had even done music videos with like Daniel Bradbury, Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line. Yeah. So I was doing like music videos with a lot of country artists, which was cool. But at the same time, I really wanted to be doing like, you know, hip hop artists and doing like, you know, award shows and stuff like that.
So when you started auditioning here, you switched agents?
So actually when I switched agents, it was actually like fairly recently because most of the jobs I was booking in LA was like just by myself, like networking with people and, you know, just talking and stuff like that. But then after I did So You Think, I had a few agencies that hit me up. So I got to pick from like 3 different agencies after having meetings to see which was the best fit for me. And so after So You Think, they hit me up, and then I picked MTA because they had the best meetings to me. They were great. And they've been really good ever since. But while I was doing battles, I also was taking classes and stuff, just trying to grow. But I still feel like at that time I was more in the freestyle scene than I was in the classes and stuff. But then I've started to do more of that. Like the year after that, I started getting more in classes and networking that way. But it was kind of weird to balance it because college, it's like you're on your own now. If you
Yeah.
wake up and don't go to class,
Nobody cares.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to tell myself, I was like, you know what? And my parents, like we've had conversations and they like, pretty much agree with me kind of on this now is like, I had to recognize at some point that this is like my life and I have to like take the steps I want to do. I'm still in school because I want to be in school, but like, I was like, if I'm gonna miss a class for an audition or a dance thing, like I'm gonna put dance. I'm gonna put dance before college because I can always make up a, Because even right now I'm on a leave of absence because I had booked, So You Think You Can Dance. So since I booked that, it started in the fall semester of my junior year.
So you're still working on your degree?
Yeah, I'm on a leave right now.
Oh,
so I have
okay.
a year and a half left. I have like 10 credits left I need to do. So I'm just probably gonna knock those out. But I'm like, yeah, in my junior year, that's when I had got So You Think. And during finals week was when I had my audition for So You Think, which filmed in Atlanta.
And had you been like, did you get any jobs out here before you got?
I had
So You
done
Think?
like a few, like I had done 2 music videos. One, it was this group I did a music video for. Then there was this other artist I did a music video for that was, he's under this rapper named Polo G, this guy named Spory. So I done a few like jobs here and there, but nothing super big before So You Think.
So I do want to ask you about So You Think.
Yes.
Because, I enjoyed that and it's a big deal. But before we go there, it's interesting. You seem to have always had this really kind of organized professional approach to this. Where do you think you, like, I certainly didn't have that kind of discipline when I was 18, 17.
Right.
Where do you think you got this?
So I feel like I always knew I wanted to be some sort of like entertainer at a young age, but I knew that like nothing really just gets handed to you, and the fact that and blowing up overnight is like rare. I feel like so I was like, okay, yeah. So I'm like, okay, if I go here, I need to have a plan, right? And my parents, as well as my choreographer and director Kimmy, and he was like, you have to go out with a plan. You know what I mean? You can't just go out and be like, okay, I'm going to go take classes and network with teachers and hopefully they book me. That's what everybody's going to do. Everybody's going to try to come out and, take class and try to get booked out for class, which that happens for a lot of people, but you're just going to end up in a pool with like a million other really good dancers. So I'm like, I had to figure out what was certain things that was setting people apart and, figure out what that was and dive deep into that and like have like a niche, right? Like,
so what was your niche?
My niche was like applying my like animation and hip hop to like whatever I'm doing, right? Like say if I was taking class, it was certain parts that we had in the choreography. I'm going to make sure like, oh, that's the guy that's going to do like that. You know what I mean? Like how can you stick out in a certain way?
Oh, wow.
Or like, and also I was doing a lot of studying on like how to be perceived by people like a certain way, right? Because it's like there's a difference if you go up to somebody like, yo, my God, like I'm such a big fan, like you're weird, which like not saying don't give somebody their flowers. But there's a way you can still give somebody your flowers without putting yourself beneath them, right?
Yeah.
Like I kind of was like, okay, let me go to these people as myself, right? Like one, I'm always gonna be myself. I'm like goofy, like outgoing person. I'm never gonna be like, oh, this is so and so. Let me like. I'm not gonna be ever disrespectful to anybody, but I'm like always, I'm gonna be myself and like just talk to somebody for who they are. And so I would talk to people just as if they're like peers. Like,
but where did you meet them even?
Just like if I was in certain settings, like I'd be like, okay, if I wanted to tap in with this person, I would see they're going to this event. I'm gonna go tap in with them. And be like, a lot of times also, I was very confident in my ability to like that. I knew I had foundation now and I knew I could dance like at a decent level. So I would like dance and then I would like speak to people like after they had seen me dance. So it was like kind of that they could see like I know information. Like I'm not just somebody that's like, oh, da 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 da. Like I would dance so that they could see like, oh, he has foundation, stuff like that, whatever it is, whoever I'm trying to talk to. And then I'd be like, oh, yo, like, yeah, you're tight, da da da. Like we should like tap in, like do something, da 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 da. Rather than like, oh, going up to somebody maybe immediately being like, oh, you're like amazing. Like what do you think I should work on, da da da. Where it's like, you can still get critiques from people and stuff, but you don't have to lower yourself.
No, but that's still like a really like I don't know. I just feel like it's a very advanced approach for someone. Like did you have? It sounds like that teacher gave you great advice.
Yeah.
Or your but your parents aren't in the industry or anything, because a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff is really opaque, right?
Right.
So even if you are, you think, oh, I need a plan, like you might even not even know what the plan should be because it is.
Right.
So I don't know. Sounds like you're somewhere. Like, are your parents kind of like this?
Yeah, so my dad, well, both my parents have their master's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So they always been like very, one, I feel like very detail oriented, but also like, I just think they did a great job at raising me and letting me set like a certain expectation for myself and like
Yeah.
a standard.
Mm-hmm.
And even like my dad, he does project management. And so like, I think some of that also kind of goes into his life. Like he's very like,
Organized.
Yeah. And so I think that seeing that, it was like, okay, cool, like that works. Like when you're organized and you have a plan, if you stick with something long enough, like it's gonna pick up in some way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would think about that, and I also would think about like ways in which, like when to turn on and when to turn off something. Like in which rooms do I want to lead with my dance, and which rooms do I want to lead with my personality? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but this again, like this is really it's interesting, like that you figured this out
It was
so
over
quickly, because a
time,
lot
though.
of people like never figure this out. Like I know, I certainly did not have all this kind of stuff really so clear. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. It was like it honestly though, it took a lot of trial and error. Like going in rooms and seeing like, oh, okay, this worked here.
Yeah. Do
So,
you have any good stories about that? Can you think of like somebody
Yes,
really well known that you met and you either messed it up or just nailed it?
Yeah. Okay. So even just like with like certain auditions, like, okay, I'll tell you about the first, because I actually auditioned for So You Think You Can Dance before I got on the
Okay.
first season.
Okay.
So I auditioned my freshman year of college, right? And I made it to the callback, which is in person.
Yes.
And essentially, I was in the last city in the last time slot in the last audition. So I was like, they had already seen like 16,000 people, and I was like, okay. I was seeing people go in and like pretty much the room was like this, right?
Okay.
You walk in. Okay, so there's like a wall, and then here's the room.
Okay.
Right. There's people that go before you. You're standing outside on the wall.
Gotcha.
So you can hear everything. You can't see anything though. So, but in the room, there's like 40 producers, and then there's like one executive producer that's talking, right? And so I was seeing like people like talk, and they're being like super like, like closed off and like really like nervous. And I think they were more so leading with their dance, when I knew like, this is a reality TV show. They're looking for personality too. Like the dance is one aspect.
Right.
So people was going in dancing for like seven seconds. He's like, oh, thank you, I'm okay. 7 seconds, they're going. 15 seconds. I've seen enough, thank you. Da-da-da. So I was like, dang, they're not even like he's not even letting them dance their full solo. But I think a lot of them were very closed off. So I was like, okay, when I go in, I'm gonna like be extra. So I went in and like hit the gritty and like did the most, and I was like, and his face was like, like, oh, and I noticed he started asking me different questions than he was asking other people. He was like, oh, well, what have you been up to in the other room? Rather than just like, what's your name? Where are you from? What dance are you doing? He was like, oh, hey, Jaylin, what have you been up to in the other room? So I'm being goofy, telling him what I'm doing in the other room. See, I'm trying to say juicy, stuff like that. He's like, oh, da-da-da. He's asking me all these different questions. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then he lets me dance for the whole 2 minutes. And then after, he's like, oh, da-da-da, I'm conflicted, but, I think your personality really showed through in your dance. Like, I want to see you da-da-da in a different round. I still didn't make it through that year, but, like, I got an email years later, asking me to come back for this season.
Right.
Because I think I left an impression last time. And another scenario I feel like in which that it worked for me is I did, a music video with the artist Tyler Hubbard, who's a super cool guy. And I tapped him with his manager after, and him as well. And then they started inviting me to some of the shows they're having in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I went he was opening for Keith Urban in LA. So I went to a show, and he came back to the lounge where they had allowed us to. And I was just like being myself, like saying what's up to him rather than being like, yo, like, oh, it's so good to see you. Like, thank you for, you know what I mean? Like, putting
Right.
myself below. I was just like, yo, what's up? Or like, blah, 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 tapping in with him. And then, me and him are like, we're cool now. Like, if I text him, he'll give me advice, ask him for advice on
Yeah.
stuff. But I think it's just knowing when to not overdo it, because you also don't want to come off like, oh, da, 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 da. But it's like if you admire somebody and you want to grow from them, because there's a difference between networking and there's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between networking and then also just trying to use people to get you somewhere. And people can see through that. So
Yeah, I
I
think
feel like
so.
my intentions are always very like genuine. Like, yo, like obviously you're doing something that's amazing. I'm very inspired by that. Like I would want you to help me grow and, da 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 da. But I still feel like there's something I have to the table that they could grow
You
from.
bring right, like
Yeah.
it's a mutual thing.
Exactly. And like even Tyler, like he said he would want to dance some and like learn how to dance and stuff like that, because he, just really enjoys hip hop dance with the country music. So just being able to set yourself up like that by leading with authenticity, I feel like is important, because I feel like a lot of people in LA get mixed up like networking with like forcing themselves on people and be like, book me.
Yeah,
It's
but-
not that, you can't lead with that.
I mean, you do have you are like certainly blessed with a good personality, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
like that
Thank
that
you.
definitely helps. But yeah, it's a trip that you're so strategic with it, but at the same time authentic. Like
Yeah, thank you.
you always come across as that. So when you went back for the So You Think You Can Dance season 18,
Oh, yeah.
right, the one you made it to the final 6, what was this for you? Like, were you like, I'm determined, or were you like, I'm just going to try again? What was your mindset going into that?
It's actually a great question, because I wasn't going to do it again, because I honestly didn't have like a really good experience whenever I went to the first audition. It didn't really end in a good experience for me. So one of my mentors is Wayne Brady. So me and his daughter are like best friends. Like that's like my sister, Miley, and I had met him through her, because she also goes to LMU. It was in
Okay.
a dance the dance crew with me, and yeah, that's like my sister. She's also amazing.
Wait, what dance
singer.
crew?
It was called Radix at the time.
Okay.
So it's like on campus. But yeah, I was hanging out with them and I was talking to him and I was like, yeah, if they email me to ask me to come back, because I had heard that, because I had a lot of friends that had done So You Think. I was like, if they email me to ask me to come back, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it, because like I didn't enjoy last time, really, that whole process and like being there for 12 hours and the way they were treating us. Like I didn't really enjoy it that much the first time I
Because they were
auditioned.
treating you like cattle,
It
kind of
was
thing?
just, yeah, it was just like super strenuous. And I
But
just
you
wasn't
said
a
that
big
one
fan.
guy. You said the one producer talked to you.
Yeah, and I was there for the full time, but it was just like, it still seemed very like, I just didn't like the whole experience.
okay.
Yeah. And then, so he was like, honestly, I don't think that would be smart. Like, he was like, if they asked you to go back and do it, I don't think that'd be smart. He was like, that's a good opportunity. You can't take stuff to heart, because like, if that rubbed you the wrong way, like this industry is like very cutthroat. Like you have to get tougher skin, da da da.
Nice.
Because that's nothing compared to some other things.
That is.
So I was like,
yeah.
okay, like I appreciate that. Like he's like, it's gonna open doors for you if you can do it again, so you should do it. So they did email me, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to him and do it. And for me, it was more so just to be like, let me get my face out there. Because for me, I always think about it as it's better to exist in somebody's head than to not exist, right?
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
they don't know you that much, just being like, oh, I've seen that guy. Oh, I've seen that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's always better to exist. So my goal was never to go on the show and win. If I did, I was like, lit. That would
Well,
be cool.
sure.
Right. Like,
Right.
that would be awesome. But I was like, this would be a great chance at exposure, networking, opening doors for people. So I went into it kind of with that mentality, like, hey, I'm going to try to not take a whole bunch of stuff to heart, but when you're actually in the process, it's a little different. But like the intention was like, hey, this is just like something I'm going to try to utilize to open doors for me. If I get far in it, cool. If I just have an audition that blows up, that's cool too.
So I remember, I didn't know anything of your background. And like it wasn't like you were coming and winning every battle in LA either, right? So
yeah.
I really did. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I was like, Jaylin is like such a great personality.
Thank you, yeah.
I can't wait to see this. But I was like, I didn't know what to expect.
Right. Neither did I.
And we're watching that, and I gotta believe there was a point in that show where you. So I'm asking you. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's got to be a point in that show where you surprised yourself.
Yeah, so
Because it pushed you in places where I'm pretty
Right.
sure you hadn't.
yeah, so it was, see, the thing about the show that was interesting though is I would say the way that they like edit things sometimes. I like honestly wasn't a big fan of
Well,
because
I mean, that's gonna happen.
which I'm like makes sense with reality TV.
Yeah.
Like, but just like little things like, okay, I can do hip hop choreo like pretty well, like at a high level. I can go take class, pick it up, do jobs. Like I've been doing jobs since I was 15, right? But jazz, contemporary, all the other stuff never really was
And
like
how
my
about
strong
the
suit.
Paris stuff?
Yeah, like say it again.
When you had to match up and do like Paris dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Like,
was new, right?
Yeah, I done like some stuff, but not that much of it. But
Because that one I remember was like, ooh. And
yeah,
I was
they
like, wow.
Yeah, they so
He did that.
yeah, I was like, so with hip hop choreo, like here's something with the show that I always thought was interesting, right? In the audition, we never did hip hop, right? Which I was hoping they were gonna do it like season 17. Season 17, what they did was in the callback, they had everybody do a piece of choreo in their style.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we do that. It's lit. Like, cool, it's a dub. But in the audition, all we did was jazz. Because we did a 40-second jazz piece. And then the partner part, that was the second part of the callback, was also like a jazz musical, like theater-esque piece. So they had made a comment on the show that was like, he can't do choreography, but he can put himself in it. Which I was like, I feel like that's very narrow-minded to say about me in the sense of we did one style of choreography. Because if you say you bring Beast Boy in here and teach a crump piece, how many of the contemporary dancers are going to look crazy? If they mess the crump piece up, does that mean they can't do choreography? No. It just means that they can't do crump choreography at a high level. Which, mind you, they taught that piece super quick. You know what I mean? Which, mind you, people picked it up, right? I'm not saying that it was impossible to pick up. People picked it up and killed it.
Right.
But like some of the things like that where they were saying like, oh, he can't do choreography, but he can put himself into it. It's like, well, that's not true. And it's just also like, I was using the show as exposure.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that I know choreographers and people watch the show, I don't want choreographers to think I can't do choreography. You know what I mean?
Right. But that ended up not being the case.
Right.
I mean, I almost
exactly.
wonder if they edited it like that so
It gives a storyline for sure.
Oh, he overcame that.
Yeah,
right?
of course. But it's like also like people will believe that. Like, you know what I mean? Like people will like, because I would get DMs, I would get comments like, I don't know how you made it to top 10. You can't even pick up choreography, all this stuff where it's like, this was, you're looking at like this is one lens of dance. So like, that was one aspect of the show. I was like, but I still feel like there was a lot of great aspects because it did push me, right? Like, first challenge I got was contemporary. That made me go out, think outside the box.
Yeah. So what? Okay, then maybe I need to rephrase my question. If not, did you surprise yourself? Like, no, I think was there a point where you did surprise, or where like you had a challenge and you're like, ooh, I don't know, because at some point, like you may have started out, oh, I just want to do this for exposure, but at some point, you're in the final, say 16,
right?
You got to start thinking, I want to win this, right?
Exactly,
like at some point, it becomes
facts. At some point, I did surprise myself because even like I never got the chance to do a hip hop challenge. Like only time I did hip hop choreography was in the opening numbers.
That's right.
Which we weren't judged on. So I was like, okay, word. I definitely surprised myself in my ability to adapt and like pick things up quickly because like it was hard to pick up those other styles and like do them, like shoot the next day. Like
seems crazy.
We would have rehearsals for like, 2-3 days and then we shoot it and then have to do the opening number. Like it was a lot of information being pushed out in a short amount of time. So I definitely surprised myself in like how quickly I could adapt to other styles, like the Broadway challenge or like the even the last challenge with Christopher Scott. That last challenge, like even having to like do like partner work and all that stuff and learn it very quickly, I definitely surprised myself at the ability in which I could execute it that quickly. Definitely. But I was also like, it showed me like, oh yeah, I'm more versatile than I think. Like I shouldn't put myself in a box.
Nice.
So yeah, it definitely opened my eyes for sure.
How big was getting to the final six is a pretty big deal. Has it has that momentum kept going in terms of you getting work and advancing like you might have hoped?
So I always like thought with the show, like I was like, okay, cool, it's definitely gonna open doors, and it did. In which, like, you know, I had got assigned from it, teaching opportunities, you know, and yeah, I had got jobs from it. Like I did, just did the Hip Hop Nutcracker, and the director had told me that first time she saw me was on So You Think, and she loved how I could express through my dance. So if she didn't see me, I don't know if I would have still got the job the same, which was cool. But yeah, I definitely opened many doors. But I also don't want to like I've never, like I've tried to use as much as I can from it, but I don't also, I've always thought I don't want to be one of those people that's like 2 years later, like, yeah, it's still me from like, So You Think You Can Dance.
Well, that's why I'm asking if the momentum kept going. That's exactly what I'm asking.
It did for a little bit, but then I'm like, also like, I'm the type of person also where I'm like, okay, cool, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it's cool. People will still like be like, oh yeah, I remember you from So You Think.
So what is the next thing?
Yeah. So okay. So next thing for me is I'm staying, like, I'm trying to build my brand and like myself more, just like more of a presence, whether that be like social media, just in general, in the entertainment industry as a whole. So I'm trying to like expand myself, you know, more jobs than just dance, like acting, music, stuff like that. But I've still been just staying consistent within the dance industry and things like that. But I have plans. Like I have an overall plan. You know, like I have a short-term, mid-term, long-term goal. So everything I'm doing is to just eventually get me to that long-term goal. But yeah, I just always am trying to branch out, connect, and do whatever, you know, is open.
How, you know, most of the stuff I see you at is community events, right? Even if there's a cash prize or if it's put on by an organization, it's community stuff. How has that been for you? You know, you came from Nashville and then you come to LA, right? As you mentioned, you got all these really competitive people and talented people. And yet there's still, like, from my perspective, the community is pretty amazing and not cynical and not. So what I want to ask you is, like, have you felt that? Do you feel the community is a real community here, or is it just the plastic LA Hollywood thing?
No, I actually felt like, okay, the industry scene, yes. That to me is like, not everybody, but that seems very like everybody feels like they have to prove themselves, and like people will like carry themselves a certain way around certain people and then, you know, dismiss other people. I will say,
I mean, if you worked for, I mean, that's probably true. Like if you were a software engineer and were trying to work for Apple, right? You'd be faced with the same thing.
So the main thing I saw was like, I saw a huge difference when like immediately, like when I first got back to LA after doing the show, the love I got from the freestyle scene was like so huge. Like everybody was so like supportive and like, congratulations, like, yo, like you're amazing, da-da-da. And then in the industry choreography scene, it wasn't that. It was more so of like, oh yeah, like you're the dude from your show, like from that show, like you like, let's see like what you can do.
Sure.
It was more so that on that scene rather than like, yo, like, not saying people need to like be like, you did amazing to me, like da-da-da. But there wasn't more so support. It seemed more like competitive, like, oh, this guy's doing stuff now. So it's like, like, and not that wasn't like that with everybody, but you definitely felt that more in the industry scene than you did in the freestyle scene, which I'm sure there were still some people in the freestyle scene who was like, oh, like now, like, you know, they want to battle you more because you're doing stuff, but it still isn't like there's no like animosity in it. I feel like sometimes with like the industry scene, it's like you feel like you have to prove yourself the more you do. People like the expectation, they just put it through the roof.
If you were, you know, like say like 10 years from now, you were to hit that long-term goal, whatever it is, and would you still come back to the community scene? Would you still
1,000%? Yeah, that's something I've always thought about. Like, I've always wanted to put the scene on the biggest platform possible. Like, there's so many ideas I have that I'm just like, I know that I will like eventually accomplish, that I'm like, I can't wait to like use and pull people from the scene for the things I want to do. Like that, because those are the most genuine people, and these are like the most talented people I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like on Earth,
I do know what you mean.
Yeah,
man.
like the people in the freestyle scene and in the community, like they're like real life superheroes. Like, and there's obviously amazing people in the choreography scene too, but like it's just like, yo, like the way in which people can express and move their bodies and do things, it's like, people need to see this on the highest level possible.
So this is great that you say this, because this is what I always say when people ask me why am I going back to these battles, still doing this for like, it's been almost 10 years right now that I've been doing this, and this is exactly why. Because it's this community that like I think people need to see. I think people need to see the community,
right?
Because especially right now, right,
with
all the headline bullshit going on and all this, so many Americans being scared of one another and all this shit. And like, this is
disconnect.
Like, come on,
sure.
right. But like, here's a reality. It's very much real, right? Where people come together and there's tensions and shit, right? It's the real world, but
exactly.
People are willing to take that risk, right, and not be afraid. And then the talent level, it's like, damn,
So what made you want to shoot, like, freestyle stuff? Like, what inspired you to be like, oh man, I really want to like lock in with this and start shooting? Like,
it's
what
everything
was
I'm telling you. So the way I started, I was walking through downtown the night that Trump got elected the first time.
Yeah.
And I was really just feeling like this is, American politics and history, like I'm not ignorant of it.
Right.
I know that there are a lot of aspects about this guy as president that are typical, but the part that's not typical, I feel like, is really scary, and like people need to be aware of this and can't just be like, oh, it's the American president, it's all politics.
Right.
There's like a moral component to the way this guy behaves, and it's fucking wrong.
It's
right,
insane,
and it's not about policy, and it's not about.
This is an internal thing now.
It's a deep thing, and
1000%.
So I was thinking about all this stuff, and there was this group of like 20 people doing what I thought was a dance routine in this parking lot,
right?
And I was like, okay, this feels good. And
right.
I walked in and I looked at it. It was a group of people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where, but I could tell they were not all from the same place.
Right. It was cool to see, people coming together like that.
And then Slim was just like, and I was like, I'd love to photograph this. Because it was the vibe. Like, the art form was not really present. Like, it was people doing his, Slim's classes usually teaches a routine.
Right.
And then there's freestyle.
Of course.
And that was all fine. But what I saw the social aspect. I saw the community aspect. I did not know who Slim Boogie was. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah.
In fact, it took me probably 3 or 4 months to realize that,
like,
he's
him. Like,
this is like,
he's one of the best.
This is like internationally famous person.
Exactly.
And then, watching this over time, I saw why. And then, I was like, so it's the social aspect. And then kind of tied into what you're saying, I think, is that the talent level, the top dancers and people like yourself who are trying to make an industry and you're taking a multilateral approach, or people like Slim, who's got this really he's doing a lot of different things, but the dancing discipline is very specific. Right. The hours, the time, the training, the commitment, it's all up there with ballet dancers,
right?
With people who are in Alvin Ailey Theater, who are with Martha Graham, who are with all these contemporary theaters, and yet the stages are just not there, right? And so
it's the same amount of work being put in.
It's the same amount of work, but work. I mean, that is true, but work doesn't necessarily mean value, right?
Right.
But there's like emotional depth. There's creativity. The other dance world, the established dance worlds, right, are drawing from this culture, right? They're drawing, like, you see movements in ballet that come straight out of the street dance scene,
right? Exactly,
right? More so than the other way right now.
Yeah,
and
same with contempt. They use a lot of breaking stuff.
So I don't really know, how to get this on stages, but like I'm very much interested in participating in that process in any way that I can. So like that's when I saw what Freedom was doing.
Right.
I was like, I just want to start, because we had a decent relationship.
Right.
So he was open to me showing up and photographing everything, because he's someone who's kind of got the potential to put this stuff on bigger stages. Right. But yeah, whatever you do in this regard, don't forget me, because I'll definitely bring something to the table, right?
Oh, 1000%, yeah.
Because I
love your shots though. Like, all your stuff is.
Thank you so much.
You have a good eye for it. You know what I mean? It's like you're not just snapping. It's like you're capturing the moments that have essence.
That's the goal, and I'm glad you see that, because you never quite know, right? Just like when you're dancing, you might think you killed it, but you're like, I don't really know. Until I get some kind of feedback, I don't really know. How do you, like, I don't know. Where do you think this is headed? Like, you went to film school.
Yeah.
Were you behind the camera or were you writing?
Yes, I wanted to be like director. Like, I wanted to direct,
So do you see do you see this kind of tying into getting street dance styles on bigger stages?
I would want to direct like recording like tours, music videos, stuff like that have a lot of, I don't really want to have to like sit and make like a set list and be like, I want it to be like super organic.
Yeah.
And the most organic form of art in a way is like movement and dance. So I'm like, if you could see, like, I think the best thing would to be like, okay, a perfect example of what it is now is, the jungle music videos, like Back on 74, like all those. It's a whole band where their whole music videos are just dancers, right?
Yes.
It's just dance. It's just choreography. But I'm like, okay, if we had more music videos like that were all freestylers, it'd be crazy. But I like the direction in which it's moving, that they shot their whole album only dancers. You don't even see the band once in the music videos. The whole...
I didn't know this. I'm gonna go watch this.
Yes, I'm gonna send them to you. Jungle. Yes, Jungle. They have like they had a whole album where each music video connected, and it was all dance, and it's choreographed by this guy named Shay. I think he's from Amsterdam. He's from overseas somewhere over there. He can also freestyle really well himself, and he utilizes a lot of actual foundational dancers. Like in one of the music videos, he has a whole bunch of lockers.
Okay.
And like some of the best lockers in the world. This guy named Joshua Markets in it, all this stuff. But the whole music videos, just dance. And it's cool because they're all oneers. Like there's no cuts. It's just dance, and it's all like the whole time. It's got a cool theme. But it's blowing up because of the ability those dancers have to portray the feeling of the music. The band doesn't even need to be in the video.
In real time.
In real time.
That's the thing.
Yes.
That's what's so amazing about it, right? Is that ability to like become the music.
Yes. People are obsessed with it.
On the spot.
Right.
And then, of course, people love dance, right?
Right.
And this is I think the most vital forms are coming out of this.
Right.
So, yeah.
Most definitely.
Do you get a lot of opportunity to dance with live music?
I mean, I feel like they come every so often. That's something I want to do more of. Something I really liked that was cool that they had was the Everything's Raw.
Oh, that's still around.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened in a few months, but
right,
yeah.
But I love when they had that like really consistently.
Yeah.
Because seeing movers like, dance to live music like that, it was amazing. But you're starting to see freestyle be utilized a lot more in live dance, like in shows, like, even Beyonce, she's using crumpers and flexors and stuff, what I mean? And it's because those people can portray, even Kendrick recently, right?
Oh, that was
He's
crazy.
been using
That
so
was
many.
crazy.
He had a whole set of turfers, right? The clowners. And people are obsessed with it because of the way they can, Right. So it's like, I would love to do more opportunities like that, to where it's like, you're being a specialty and you just get to do you to live music. But I feel like those opportunities are very rare and slim.
Yeah, because of the money, right?
Right.
Because the Super Bowl, great. Like,
Right.
and Beyonce's got budget, but
Right.
your average band like can't get itself paid,
Right.
let alone paid dancers.
As well as the set and and dancers are some of the most underpaid people in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, sometimes we get these opportunities, right? Like there is an opportunity that I got recently to perform at Coachella with a group, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. But because of like opportunity, I feel like because of how much money they were offering for the job, I almost would lose money for how much time I was giving to it. Yeah,
and I don't.
Exactly.
Obviously, we're not here to like name names,
right?
But was this a band, like a big band?
It's a DJ, and so
the DJ. I mean,
right. And it's like,
it's hard to know how much they do, because a lot of people at these music festivals, except the headliners,
right,
aren't getting paid.
Right.
Jack
and it's
either,
like,
right?
Yeah, and it's like, I understand
the musicians and the DJs and everybody. Like,
exactly.
The top people are, but like a lot of this is
right.
Not
And that's
paid.
why I'm like, I'm not mad at all at the price that was given to me. Like, I fully understand, because especially after talking with more like directors and people that are doing stuff behind the scenes, I understand like people have a budget, and the budget is like slim a lot of times. And so they're trying to give, you just as much. Sometimes they don't even leave with something. They're trying to just get the thing done. And so I'm just like, yeah, sometimes the opportunities are there, but I'm trying to be smart with my time as well as, I got to pay rent in Los Angeles,
Yeah. Yeah.
So the opportunities are there sometimes, but I have to be smart with them. And I've learned, like, it's okay to say no to some things.
Are you traveling a lot? Are you getting...
Yeah, so I've been trying to travel a little bit more with my teaching.
Yeah, and does that pay better than...
Yeah, that pays really well,
Just
especially
better
if you
than-
could do like a convention or something.
Mm-hmm.
Those conventions pay really well. But I also find sometimes teaching can be draining if it's too often. So I like to do it like in sets. Like I'm about
Yeah.
to do like a month long thing of teaching at ML, and then
At Millennium.
Movement Lifestyle.
Oh, Movement Lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'll take probably some time off again. But I like having like sets, do it,
Yeah.
Cause, but yeah, if you can get like a good base of people, it pays decently, and it's also like fulfilling to like share that information that people share with you to other people, and then them feel
Right.
enlightened from it,
Right.
and then them being able to pass it, because that's the whole point, is like pass it, down to
Pass it
people
on.
so that they can grow, and then if you have students, the whole point is for them to be better than you,
Right.
So, if you're a good teacher,
Are you gonna keep? Do you still enjoy battling as much as you did 2 years ago?
I think for me though, battling now, I've looked at it more of like, oh, this is fun. Like, I'm gonna go, if I get far and like, I'm honestly looking at it like how I was looking at. So you think, hey, if I go into a battle and get far,
Yeah, but
cool.
I noticed, because I was at, I think, the first battle you entered after that show,
Yes.
which was Versus Style.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure,
I
if
think
it
so.
wasn't the first, it was the second.
Yeah,
Because it was shortly after you'd finished filming that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you and congratulating you on the show.
Yeah.
And then I saw you battle. And I don't know if it was the show itself
Right.
and all the training you'd been doing, or if it was that you didn't care as much. Like you're
Yeah.
saying, like you didn't care about winning as much.
Right.
But I was like, oh yeah, I see a difference. Like
Thank you, yeah.
you had more swag, and you didn't just come out and do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was more like you came out and set a
Pacing of
tone,
it, yeah.
and then paced it and built up, and
Thank you, yeah.
so that's interesting. Like
I think like
somehow
for-
not caring as much has made
Yeah.
you a better competitor.
Yes, yeah, because I think sometimes like when I would think, it's crazy. Like when I think too much, I'm like, oh, I have to do this and I have to
Yeah.
attack like this. You start to overthink and you just push everything out. So I'm like, for me, I'm
Right.
like, battles are fun. It can get competitive. I'm not saying I don't care. Like I'm not saying I go to a battle and lose and I'm like, oh, whatever. Like sometimes I'm still like, dang, like I wish I could have got farther. But it's just also like having that relax. Like also I feel like I'm confident enough in my dance now to where I'm like, I feel relaxed enough to be like, whatever I'm gonna put out is gonna be like.
It's really obvious. Like,
Thank you.
And again, like I'm taking pictures, right? So like
Right.
even if I don't know all the details, I can sense who's confident, who's good, who's like I see this stuff pretty
Yeah.
well at this point. How do you? So you've got all these different kind of agendas. It sounds like, but you're still ultimately right now a dancer, right?
Yeah.
So what's your training in right now? Like, are you focused on a new style? Are you just focused on fitness? Like what?
Yeah, so
what are you doing?
I've definitely been training like just cleaning up my choreo, right?
Okay.
As well as being able to not only blend, because that's also important. You have to be able to blend, but also
You mean, for people who don't know, you mean you're in a group
yes,
and your group is supposed to be unified. It's
Yes,
not supposed
exactly,
To be, not supposed to
yes.
be all, who's that guy?
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
You have to be, because sometimes that it does call for that.
Sure,
Sometimes
sure.
it does call for like, oh, have a moment.
Yes.
But you don't want to be only a moment dancer, because then it's like jobs are going to be even more scarce for you. You know what I mean? You have to be able to turn that on and off. So I've been trying to just get better with that, being clean. And then if I want to, I can like turn up if I need.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I've just been working on that, and then also just always training and trying to just grow. Like I've been working a lot with Super Dave.
Do you have a good example of like some detail that Super Dave has called out recently where you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that little thing?
Yes. So one thing he called me out on was like, I do this thing where like I'll be dancing and I like to hit like hi-hats in the background, like the and the music, right? So sometimes I'll be like hitting them like super like ticking through them because I'll fuse animation in my hip hop.
Yes.
He was telling me that I don't want to lead too much with that because it can become like almost like jaded in a way, but also like you also don't want to lose the groove again, right? So it's like now I'm using that animation as an icing on the foundation rather than just leading so much with that. Because I also, that was like kind of a problem with me, is like leading with the ticking, because anytime, a clear way to tell of somebody, like to tell how your dance is ask somebody like, oh, dance like me. Like, what do I look like when I dance? So I would ask other dancers, oh, like, dance like me. What do I look like? And all of them would like do this. Like every time they'd be like this, something like the ticking I was doing. So I'm like, dang, that's what people are saying the most of my dance. I don't want to be leading with that. I kind of want it to be an accent. So I'm working with him to kind of like, you know, see different ways I can sit in a groove and different ways I can like shift my bounce and then put that icing on top of that rather than leading with that into a groove. So it's like really like complex stuff, because it's like he's even been showing me and a few other people like different bounces, like different like timings with it and how you can, you know, that you didn't even know. Cause like I, you know, there's the up bounce, there's a down bounce, there's a double bounce, you know, down bounce emphasis is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and up bounce emphasis is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then double bounce is 1 and 2 and 3 and, right. But then I didn't even know there was more bounces than that he's broke down to me, which has been really cool. So he just has so much knowledge, and so I'm very thankful that he's even like, you know, down to spread it and stuff like that. So, because there's always room to grow. Like, you can never not grow. Like, there's always something you can get better at, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Would you be up for a dance drum improvisation?
Oh, yeah.
I got an electronic drum kit over here.
Oh, yeah, I'm down. Yes.
Well, let's try a little experiment here. It'll take me like a couple minutes to just rearrange stuff.
I'm down,
and we can go for it.
Let's do it, yeah.
All right. Jaylin, thank you so much.
Of course,
seriously,
thanks for having
really
me. I appreciate you asking me to come on.
Really appreciate you taking your time.
Of course.
And giving that good energy. And I'm looking forward to see what comes next for me for sure.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so excited for like everything you got planned. This podcast is also lit too. Like, it's really cool.
We'll spread the word.
Of course, yeah.
This is something that, you know, definitely I wanted to do, and I'm going to keep doing it and building this.
Yes, I definitely will.
Oral history of street dance.
Yeah, and I'll recommend some people to you and hit them up and be like, this would be a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please do. All right, we're going to get to it.